Unsyndicated presents What the Puck with Sean Baligian.
Well, happy Wednesday to you. So glad you can join us along with my partner, Mike Iveson. My name is Sean Baligian. Very, very happy to be joined by a longtime NHLer. He did everything in the National Hockey League, even did broadcasts as well. And he is going to be out here for this outstanding alumni game coming up April 27th at Big Boy Arena. Of course, Rangers taking on the Detroit Red Wings alumni. It is the Alumni Cup. Glad to have him on the show. Let's welcome in Sergio Momesso, kindly joining us here tonight. First of all, Sergio, really appreciate you taking the time. How are you?
I'm good, man. You got it, boys. Looking forward to coming to Detroit.
Hey, you know what's interesting? You're a Montreal guy, and it's funny. I was looking at some pictures. Shane Corson posted this picture from the 85-86 season. And a bunch of babies, all the rookies from that team. You got Sergio, you got Scrudlin, you got Gel Dahlin and Riche with that porn stash, and Waugh and Shaner. It is amazing. That's not supposed to happen in this league. The way that happened for you guys that year, and it made me think the last couple of nights, you watch Montreal, you watch Detroit, two young teams, and everybody's talking about 2-3 years from now. Boy, that 85-86 team, Sergio, that's unbelievable you guys were able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like we all came up at the same time, and there's one guy missing in that, and that wasn't in that picture, was Claude Lemieux.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He ended up being the hero in the playoffs, as you know, as long as scoring overtime goals, and Patrick Waugh was just outstanding. You know, we struggled obviously at the beginning of the year for a lot of the time, and we just had so many. You know, like 7 rookies in the lineup, you know, and then finally when I guess Patrick just took over and started to hit his stride, we started to know the league a little bit. The guys, you know, they got used to the different level, the junior guys, and we had great veterans though, man. We had Larry Robinson, Bob Gainey, you know, as captains, assistant captain. What more can you ask? They pretty much taught us how to. Actually, they taught us how to be pros, man. I mean, honest to God, Bob would just tell me, you know, you don't have to be great every game, but you got to be good if you're going to last a long time. And if you look at the names of the guys that you mentioned, everybody played a long time, you know, over 10 years plus. Some Hall of Fame careers there as those young players. So, you know, we took their advice. There's no question about it. You don't walk in too cocky. You know that you're good, but you know, when you have all these guys that won all the cups that are there, you know, pushing you to be better. You know, Chris Chelios was another guy that was on our team. He was like the middle of the pack defense, but also a leader and a scrapper. And speaking of scrappers, I mean, we had John Kordick and we had Chris Nyland. So we had a mix. There's no question. We had a mix.
Wow, what a great team there in 86. But before we got there, let's go back to 1983. Your name is called as the 27th overall pick in the NHL draft by your hometown Montreal Canadiens. What's that like? Not only to get drafted in the NHL, your dream, but your hometown team.
Yeah, I mean, the draft was in Montreal, so definitely, you know, there was rumors that I was going to go to Montreal because they had 2 picks in the second round, and that's where they kind of slated me where I was going to go. And I was playing in Shawinigan, and actually, you know, those 2 picks was Claude Lemieux and myself, 26 together in that draft. So we played against each other in junior. He was in Verdun, and I was in Shawinigan. Both good teams, actually. Pat LaFontaine played in Verdun a couple of years earlier. Obviously, Detroit playing at the CompuWare. I mean, that was amazing to watch him play against Mario Lemieux in the juniors in those years. And then we got drafted after that. So that was pretty cool. I think, you know, in one way, I thought maybe I'd get picked by the Bruins last pick in the first round. And then then when they didn't pick me, being in those days the Atom division, the small rinks, the Boston Garden, I thought that I'd be a fit for them. And then Montreal. It was funny, Serge Savard, when he drafted us 2 years in a row, a lot of guys that were kind of big players, and he said, "Well, I need to draft wingers, big wingers, to play in this Adams division." And obviously, we had to play, the Bruins 8 times, the Nordiques 8 times, and it was just like war all the time. And so playing in those small rinks, I think they wanted big forwards, so that was great. My dad was the happiest guy in the world. There's no question.
Sergio Momesso kindly joining us again. We cordially invite you to come out. It is a great show for great causes. Big Boy Arena, April 27th. Really looking forward to this. The rosters are outstanding. A big part of that, certainly, former Ranger amongst some other teams, Sergio Momesso. Sergio, as a young boy growing up, loving the Habs, I remember you playing his day. Always felt sorry for you. You're having a fantastic year, off to a great start in 85, 86, and a knee injury. And certainly knee injuries were different back then. I know it had to have been a great ride for you to eventually be a Stanley Cup champion, but I can't imagine how frustrating that was for you to be off to a great start in your hometown and then to suffer a knee injury like that in that what turned out to be magical season.
No, absolutely. I was, I made the team, and I was playing a lot. I had like 15 points, 8 goals in 24 games. And then that night in Boston, I went to deliver a hit and kind of collided with someone behind the net. And then my knee went totally the other way. And I knew it was serious. Stayed overnight in Boston, then flew to Montreal the next day, flew back with Serge Savard, went right to the hospital, and, right into surgery. I was out for the rest of the year. It was tough. It was, I never had a major injury in junior or anything like that. And this, you finally make the big team, and not only make the team, I'm playing and playing a regular shift and stuff like that. So it was hard. I mean, and it was a time, like you said, those injuries were unknown. Posterior cruciate ligaments totally torn apart, and they put like an artificial ligament to tie them together. And it was kind of like the first time that they were doing it on an athlete in hockey anyway. And so that was the unknown, where I just worked my bag off in the gym. And I said, no, I cannot not, come back and play. But I did find it difficult when I got back for the first year and a half. It didn't feel quite right. I had to wear a big brace, and I wasn't used to that. I really didn't like it, to be honest, to wear that brace. But, like I said, it took a while to get going after that, but then ended up playing 13 years. So you just put your head down and you say, no, man, I'm not giving up. I want to play in the NHL. But at the time it was tough to take.
Yeah, when I was doing homework for this interview, Sergio,
Yeah.
I read something that you said you finally started to feel comfortable with that knee when you were in St. Louis. And what a time to feel comfortable when you get put on that line with Oates and Hall. Now, what's that conversation like when the coach pulls you inside and says, hey, Sergio, I got a line for you. You're going to go out there with Oatesy and Halsey. What was that like?
Well, funny you should say that. I don't know if you know the conversation, but Brian Sutter was the coach. And when he did tell me that he wanted to put me with those guys, a little bit, I was used to playing on the first line in junior and stuff. I wasn't, in Montreal after that injury, kind of playing third line checker and stuff like that. But I got a lot of points in junior. So I was confident that I could, do my job and compliment those guys and also protect Brett, right? Whenever, they were trying to go after him because he would score so much. But not easy in Detroit in those days with Kosher and but that's another story I can tell you. But in general, he says, yeah, we're gonna play. Those guys, you got to still play your game. You got to get in there and get in front of the net and forecheck and make it difficult for the D, and then just get in front of the net. You'll get rebounds with those guys passing the puck around in the shots, and then I'm like, yeah, I understand that. That's not going to change my game. And then he goes, well, they're not that great defensively, so you got to be the first guy back in your own end to help them in their end. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You want me to get in there first? You want me to be the first forechecker? And you want me to be the first back checker? And I'm going, it doesn't make sense. Like I actually told him, I said, it doesn't make sense. I can't do that. Yeah, I can't do both, and then I said, I don't know if I want to be on this line, because then I'm the one that's going to get all the heat when things go bad. And when you play on offensive line like that, a lot of expectations, get a lot of points, but we struggle a bit in our end at times, because Hully wasn't in our end with us. But when you got him the puck, he'd score.
Yeah,
and I got to play on top, so that was good.
Oh, that's great. Sergio Momesso kindly joining us. Sergio, you bring up something. We had your former teammate on. I'm sure you know him well. He's still very active in Montreal, Chris Nyland. Yeah. And I think sometimes people hear this stuff and they're like, what are you talking about? There's no way. Knuckles became great friends with Bob Probert, and he was talking about the friendship that he had with the late Bob Probert.
Yeah.
And I said to Knuckles, I'm going to say the same thing to you because you touched on it. I miss the divisional playoffs. I'm sorry. And my kids call me an old man all the time, and I'm fine with that. There was nothing like, you want to build a rivalry, have Montreal and Boston play each other 8 times a year and then see themselves in the playoffs. Have the Hawks and Blues play each other 8 times a year and see themselves in the playoff. There was just something extra special about that. But I know you touched on Bob and Joey. What are some of your memories of those battles?
Well, playing at the old Joe Louis Arena was awesome, and mostly, like, when I'm in Montreal, it was Boston and it was in Quebec. That's the wars that we had there. But when I got traded to St. Louis, then it was obviously Chicago, the old Chicago Stadium, and then Joe Louis. Obviously Bob Probert on the ice with Steve Yzerman, and I think it was Jared Gallant played there as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him when he was playing on left wing with Pat LaFontaine. So he was kind of protecting, Pat LaFontaine and Junior. And we know Bob was protecting Yzerman, and that's the way the league was. I mean, like, Semenko was playing with Gretzky, and guys would ask me, like, how come you don't hit Gretzky? And I go, simple, 2 words, Dave Semenko. It would be the same thing about Yzerman. Why don't you hit Yzerman? Well, Bob Probert and Joey Kosher. I mean, they I always loved that. I remember seeing that T-shirt, give blood, fight Probert. Out in the stands. And, I had a lot of respect for Bob. I mean, I was a like a power forward, I guess, and I would scrap when I'd have to. But I remember my dad telling me too. My dad came from Italy, and he didn't know hockey, but he knew that. He said, son, you shouldn't fight Bob Probert. And I said, I know, I should. You're right. But if it happens, I'm gonna have no choice. Things happen in those games, but I never did. I did meet Bob after a couple times for some events here in Montreal, and it was kind of sad when I heard that he passed away. Of course, a lot of respect for what they did, and I did end up fighting Joey Kosher at the Joe Louis, and hung in there. He was a tough dude as well. So you have your battles, and then you respect the guys later. So listen, you want to go out and run good players in our day, well, then you gotta pay the price. You gotta fight the tough guy, and if you're willing to do that, go right ahead. I think I played hard, but in general, I played fair. But if I had to go for my teammates, I did. But I knew I wasn't stupid. I wasn't going to run Steve Yzerman.
and you talk about Probert and Kosher, but let's not forget, you guys had Chase, Twist, and Ewan. You guys were a big, tough team. And when I was looking this up, I kept thinking, poor Vincent Riendo. I think Probert ran him almost every time you guys played. You guys needed something to protect him.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was just saying, I hope he doesn't run the goalie when I'm on the ice, because then you have to jump in. I mean, that's the way it was. Hey, listen, it was the Norris division. And you remember the nickname that it was called?
Black and blue.
No, the Chuck Norris division.
The Chuck
Norris, there you
division.
go.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, the Chuck Norris division, and then also Minnesota had Shane Churla and Basil and Tenorti, and I don't know. You go even Toronto, obviously with Kordic was back. He got traded to Toronto, so Kordic was there, and then obviously Wendell Clark and
Todd Gill would drop them.
Bucks, right? They had their Crimson, and so there were long games. I mean, every game was 3.5 hours. And that's just the way it was, some nights. But I love the old Joe Louis Arena. I love the old rinks. I miss the old rinks. I love the Chicago Stadium.
Favorite.
And, Boston Garden, all those places. Scary places like the Philadelphia Spectrum. Jesus. Not the I was lucky. I was a big guy. I could take care of myself. But there was a lot of guys that were not. They were not too happy going in those rinks. It was tough for them to play in, and I see why. Not easy.
Sergio Momesso, he's going to be out here with a ton of fantastic players. Once again, please come out and join us. Very honored to be a small part of this broadcasting this game. Original Six alumni matchup, Rangers Wings. Once again, Big Boy Arena, April 27th. Sergio, when you look back in your career, I mean, take a look at the markets that you played in. I mean, St. Louis, that was a very special time for the Blues. Obviously, you didn't get to the ultimate goal, but I mean, here's a kid in Montreal, like you said, your dad from Italy. You play in Montreal, you play in St. Louis, you play in New York, you play in Toronto. I mean, you want to talk about hockey markets. What a blessing that had to be over the course of your career to play in hockey markets like that.
Well, yeah, and you just happened like from St. Louis. I actually got traded to Vancouver.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
I was there for 4 years, and actually those were the prime years of my career after St. Louis. Really, I have 2 of my kids were born there. We went to the finals in '94 against the Rangers. We had a big team, man, and we had a star on our team called Pavel Bure, who just came on the scene. Was like, wow, this guy's going to be awesome. So I mean, the Toronto was just near the end of my career. A little bit of a flip there. I do like the fact I got to play with Doug Gilmour and Matt Sundin. I go back at the players that I played with too. Going to New York, got to play with Gretzky, Messier and that crew. So a lot of great players that you play with during your career. You look back and you say, well, it wasn't too bad. So I was pretty fortunate in the sense I got to play with teams that. I was always in the playoffs, and that was one thing I look back and I said, every team that I was with made the playoffs, so that was good. It's the best to play in the playoffs, man. There's no other feeling. You can't describe it unless you're there, and when you hop on the ice and you're ready to go in these games. So playoffs, man, I still love to watch them. So I can't wait till the weekend. Though I'm sorry what happened to the Wings there.
Yeah,
but. And you got to beat the lower teams if you want to get in there, and they didn't, so unfortunately. And but the playoffs are fun. There's no question. You guys have been in Detroit. The consistent. How many years did they make it in a row? Over 20 years or something like that.
Incredible. I wanted to bring up the Vancouver situation because everybody talks about that Rangers team, rightfully so. I'm taking nothing away from them. Gretzky, Messier, the guarantee, Mateau. I think people forget how close you guys came to winning that. You guys had a wagon, and obviously Bure was at the front of it. But I mean, that came down to literally a draw in Rangers zone with just a couple seconds remaining. I think people forget as they pontificate about, 1940 and breaking the curse. I think people forget how close you guys came to winning that series. We were a goal. I mean, we lost 3-2 Game 7 in Madison Square Garden, and you look back at that series, there's a couple of turning points where, we got a split in New York because we started there, and they had the best team like on record during the year, but we were just rolling in our west side, and we just, when we won the first round against Calgary, who was a very good team at the time, we beat them. We were down 3-1, and then we won the next 3 games in overtime and the last one in double overtime. And I said, once we did that, I mean, we rolled over Dallas, and
in 5, and then we beat Toronto in 5, and then we were in the final, and we were like, we deserve to be here. It doesn't matter. We're playing our best hockey, and we came back to Vancouver, and we lost both games in Van, so that got us down 3-1. But we came back. We went to Madison Square Garden. Everyone thought it was over. Game 5, we were going to give up, but I I tell people, you don't play for 2 months and then just say, oh well, we did it, we got to game 5, and give up, and we won that game, and we forced them to come back in Van, and our thought was, if we won game 5, we're coming back for game 7, because there's no way they're going to win game 6, and which exactly what happened. I think we beat them 4-1 there in game 6. So once you get to game 7, I mean, pretty much I look back at that game. We got down 2-0 in the first, and that kind of put us in a hole. It's so hard to score goals in such a tight, intense game. So I look back at that first period. I'd love to take that first period over again. We ended up losing 3-2, so that goes to show you that first period was the difference. But it was incredible. We got back to Vancouver, that morning, 4 a.m, whatever, after that long flight. And there was people at the airport, and we had kind of like a mini parade or something. We went to the football stadium, and they had over 50,000 at the stadium to greet us there. A couple of days later. Just the fact that Vancouver weren't used to going that far, I think, in the playoffs. So they were just they still love that team in '94. I go back to Vancouver. You mentioned I was doing the broadcast, and every year I went there, they talk about the '94 team, and I'm still good friends with Kurt McLean and a lot of the guys that played on that team. When I go back to Van, or I see them when they're in other cities. Some guys live in Phoenix, and some guy lives in Calgary. So it's nice to see the old boys when you travel.
Yeah. A guy we've mentioned a couple times here, Pavel Bure. He's one that I have a son. He's 17, and I try to show him some of the guys that we idolized growing up, be it Gretzky, Lemieux, and Pavel Bure is one of them. And you had a chance to be right there on the ice with him. I think he's one of the more underrated stars the NHL had. How good was he from your vantage point?
Well, I think if he played in today's game, I mean, there was, without the hooking and holding, who knows, he was so fast. And if you talk to someone today and you try to figure out how, well, he could skate and stick handle at the same speed, kind of like Connor McDavid does, and Nathan McKinnon do, right? They go full speed and stick handle at the same time. And he wasn't a center, but he could do the same thing. Straight line. They call him the Rocket for the reason, the Russian Rocket, because once he took a couple of strides, you couldn't catch him. They had to haul him down. There was no question. And he scored 60 goals a couple times there. And the goals he scored were highlight reel goals a lot of times, right? So he'd always go backhand, forehand, and then, he'd be so quick that the goaltender couldn't catch up. So he was exciting to watch, and he was one guy that fans would come to say, we're coming to watch this guy, because it's exciting. And he definitely was, and I credit him, because he went to the net to score goals. I mean, he wasn't one on the perimeter. He'd go in there and drive the net to score. People don't realize that scoring's, you got to have a natural touch, but you got to get in the dirty areas to score. And you paid the price in those days if you went in those areas. So I got to give it to him. He definitely did that as well.
We have one more thing for Sergio. Can't thank you enough for your time. Really looking forward to seeing him and everybody else out at the Big Boy Arena. And once again, alumni matchup at Big Boy Arena in Fraser. Rangers, Wings. It's for a great cause. It's great hockey. But I was talking to you about this before we went on, and I'm going to mention it for everybody else. So I go to Montreal for a game against the Flames. Nothing like being in the Montreal Forum on a Saturday night. Yeah, and I'm staying at the now defunct Hotel Maritime. And the guy there says, okay, you guys, you want the best sub in the world? You got to go down to NDG. And Sergio, no disrespect, I'm going, what's NDG? What's NDG? He goes, go down to NDG and go to Momesso's and get yourself an Italian sub. I know it no longer exists, but for the benefit of everybody out there, is Momesso's going to make a triumphant return? Because I'll tell you what, Sergio, a lot of times somebody tells you to check something out, and I had my smoked meat the day before, so I was ready for an Italian sub. But it's got to be awesome having, I guess, a place with a legacy like that in Montreal, and a legacy that may be continuing.
Over 40 years. Listen, my dad bought the restaurant in 73, I think. It was just a pool hall, like a pool hall. NDG stands for Notre Dame, Notre Dame de Grâce in French, Notre Dame of Grace. So we just call it NDG because just to make it simple, abbreviation. And this was English neighborhood, pretty much Italian immigrants, Irish, Scottish, and local hangout. My dad would have them play pool and play cards and then make some coffee and stuff like that, and then want to keep the guys there, so he started making some sandwiches, some sausage sandwiches, and then putting a little hot peppers on the sandwiches and stuff. And at the time, people from the neighborhood knew the place, but then once I made the Habs, we got some good publicity. It started to get a lot of traction, and then people from other parts of the city started to come and said, "You got to try this," and it just grew and grew. And a lot of I have photos there. A lot of the hockey guys would come there, Chelios and Nyland. I had the team there when I had, they used to come. We used to go there sometimes after lunch, have some pints with my dad and the boys, and it was just a different time. And even when I was in St. Louis, we had a day off. I brought the guys there. So I had a lot of the guys come in when they came into town. They come. Vancouver guys have been there. The Rangers, one time we left after the game. I got my brother to bring the sandwiches to the forum, and then we brought them on the bus before we went on the plane. It was like, guys are like, "Wow, this is awesome." So yeah, it's a long time. My parents passed away, but my brother, who just retired at 69, had enough of the restaurant business. But the Momesso name is still with me. I own the rights to the name. People are asking me, when am I opening in another part of the city? I said, time will tell. I said, we'll take a breath here. We'll take a look. But in the meantime, I started making jars. We started making jars, my wife and I, of 4 different type of hot jars and stuff, and we got them in the grocery store. So I'm going to bring some to Detroit, and you guys could try some.
Outstanding.
So that was the sauce that kind of went in the sandwiches, and then we added some more, and so kind of diversified a little bit on that. Keep the name going, and so I'll bring some down when we come down to Detroit.
No, appreciate that greatly, and I say it again, they were fantastic.
Try the bread and the sausage, and we'll make a sandwich.
Count me in.
Yep, that's our jam. We will bring the sausage.
We can do that.
Yep.
Hey, Sergio, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for the memories. I think I can speak for a lot of guys. You were always a guy that you were being humble about yourself, but pretty tough guy, a guy that could play and a guy that could stick up for himself and his teammates as well. Really looking forward to seeing you in person once again, April 27th with Ranger alumni as they take on the Wings here at Big Boy Arena. April 27th, the alumni series continues. And I can't thank you enough for your time, Sergio. Thank you so much. And again, look forward to seeing you next week. It's upon us already.
Next week, man. We'll see you guys there.
Outstanding. Thanks so much. Sergio Momesso kindly joining us here on Off the Air. What a great guy.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm not joking. So I saw that picture. I think Shane Corson posted it. And usually those guys were babies. Like Jal Dolan. Remember Jal Dolan?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. He had that magnificent rookie year. And then I think the NHL was too much for him, to be honest with you. And he headed back. But unbelievable.
But when you start to name it, you don't really think about it. Then you start naming it. And Sergio, of course, adds in Claude Lemieux into there.
Yep.
You look at that, and I can look at you, and I'll ask you that question. As that fan in 86, how many did you think were coming after that one with that young team?
Oh, my goodness gracious. Okay, so 87, I thought they were going back to back. I really did. Okay. They ran into Hex on the Flyers, as you remember, and all that. 88 was Chris Nyland was on. It was the end of Puddinhead.
Yep.
I think they
still the best.
There you go, Knuckles.
Ever.
Greatest nickname ever. I think all those guys got tired of Puddinhead. And then 89, I've heard multiple guys say this when they lost to the Flames in the finals. They felt like the Flames were the better team in 86, but Patrick Waugh did Patrick Waugh things. And the reverse happened in 89. They felt they were the better team, but Al MacInnis took that series over. I mean, he did. Al MacInnis was phenomenal that series.
There's another name.
Won the Conn Smythe Trophy. So, yeah, you're right. And then all of a sudden, then you had that mass exodus because you had Bob Gainey retire. You had Larry, which they should have re-signed. It was a gosh darn joke, to be honest with you. Start crying.
Let's get off that, and I want to get in.
Yeah.
So Dave here says that yes, I'm watching some old Canucks Bure videos tonight. What a hockey player! I mean, that's going to be a rabbit hole that's going to take you forever. I'm being dead serious. He is one that I've tried to explain to Sebastiano at just how good he was, and I think Sergio summed it up with saying he could score 60 goals in today's game, especially without the clutching and grabbing. Because if you watch the videos, there's someone on his back almost every goal.
It was okay. So there were guys. Go back and look at pictures. Yeah. Okay. And Tammy said great interview. She also said amen, Sean, when I talked about the divisional playoffs. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. I went on a mini rant about it last night after the Wings game. Okay, whatever. But go back and look at pictures. I mean, what the goaltenders were wearing back then was actually laughable. And guys would come down the near wing, the far wing, didn't matter, and let go of 35 to 40-foot slappers and beat goalies routinely, okay? You and I both know that never happens anymore.
No, watch a game with us. We'll say it nonstop.
Never, ever happens anymore. A guy like Bure, he would translate today. Yeah. Because not only did he have the shot, but he had that explosiveness. And, unfortunately for him, the body didn't follow suit.
Yes. And I think Sergio also mentioned that he would go to the dirty spots. Not only would he go to the dirty spots, he wasn't afraid to throw the body. So Dave, when you're out there getting the videos, I forget who it was on Dallas that I think I sent this video to you not too long ago where Bure gets cross-checked down in the corner and the play then transitions down into their corner and he comes and he loops around and he knocks that guy out cold. I mean, dirt nap and everything, just not even moving. So he wasn't afraid to redeem himself too.
Look what Sergio just sent me. So I don't know if this is going to translate. No, it's not going to translate at all. There we go. How about some Momessos? There you go. Look for it.
Some Jardiniere.
Yes. There you go. You like that?
Oh,
see that?
Love that.
No, true. I'm not joking. So, and I don't think you and I, when we went in 92, we got a chance to get the smoked meat. No. Everybody talks about the smoked meat for a reason. If you go to Montreal, there's a reason. We call them Reubens. They're giant, like smoked meat sandwiches. Mike and I ended up at La Cage au Sport, and one day we'll do a show we'll do What the Puck After Hours, and we'll tell you all the shenanigans that happened at La Cage au Sport. But that is for another day. This is a PG audience. But true story, I was at the hotel, and after we got the smoked meat, the guy said, if you want, he said, how you say submarine sandwich. He said, go down to Notre Dame de Grace, NDG, and go to Momessos, and they were outstanding. And so I'm glad to see he's keeping his family tradition alive as well. Tammy said a lot of things don't make sense right now. I am growing tired of Bettman hockey. I cannot understand for the life of me why we don't have divisional playoffs. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. My kids make fun of me and say, quit being old, Dad. But you want a rivalry? Okay, let me use the last two games as an example. Yeah. And this is what I said last night. And you can yell at me in a second because I want to get your thoughts on what happened with the Wings. Can you imagine Montreal, Detroit finishing a season like this, like the last two nights, and then meeting each other in the second round of the playoffs to get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah.
Do you know how fantastic that would be? And I brought this up. I had a conversation. I'm sorry to name drop. I had a conversation with Chris Osgood about this very thing. Here you have two of the most iconic franchises in the history of the National Hockey League. And these two teams have not played in the playoffs since 1978. Think about that.
That
It's
That
a
hits.
crime.
That hits hard.
It's a crime. It's a gosh damn crime. I'm sorry. It is. By the way, 2 years from now, I said it last night. Remember the date, April 16th. Do not be shocked if on April 16th, 2026, you don't see Detroit and Montreal 1-2 in the division. I mean that in all sincerity.
Yes.
I mean that in all sincerity.
And with how quickly Buffalo is moving on from their leadership, we've spoken about Buffalo. I am going to expect Ottawa's going to do the same thing. I think at that same time, I think you are going to see some battles within those four teams.
It'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean the youth that's there. To harp on what you were saying when I was doing all this and trying to figure out some things to ask Sergio, and one of them was about how tough that Norris was, and it leads right into that though. It was, they played 8 times, they played in the playoffs. But I am telling you, Sean, and I know you can attest to this, you were at home watching it, but I would be out, I'd be at a party, and I was like, where's your TV? We're turning on the game. Detroit, St. Louis is playing. Detroit, Chicago is playing. St. Louis, Chicago is playing. Like, I mean, it didn't matter. If a Norris game was going on, you were watching it. And we have mentioned this since we started this show, that regular season hockey's just become pedestrian. It's hard to watch on some nights, and that is why.
Now, I want to give today's NHL one thumbs up though. Okay, just one thumbs up. The first round is can't miss television now. The first round of the Stanley Cup playoff is can't miss television. When we were growing up, so many of those first round matchups were just a joke. In the non-cost certainty era, you didn't even have to watch it, okay? The first round, I think you'll agree with me. I think the first round is unbelievable. Arguably the best round there is. It's incredible.
As we're sitting here today, I'm looking at the matchups right now today, and there's 6 series I'm excited for.
Unbelievable.
That's unheard. And there's the only reason I'm going to watch the Hurricanes Islanders, or I'm interested in that, is your boy Patrick Waugh. He's really figured it out, I think, behind that Islander bench, and I think that could be interesting. I don't think they win. I'm not saying that. I'm even betting under 5.5 games, but there is 6 series that I can't wait to watch and bet on.
Tammy said, I miss seeing Chicago. Tammy also said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Boston can make it past the first round. See, Tammy, I brought this up last night. For me personally, one of the annual rites of spring, okay, you had the spring showers, you had all the leaves coming on the tree, and you had Montreal and Boston playing in the playoffs, either first round or second round. And like off the top of my head, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. They skipped in 93 because the Sabres pulled the upset. 94. Come on. And that's like those things, that's awesome. So when you talk about wanting to make a rivalry, you can't force feed a rivalry. Okay. Sometimes there's a spark that will start a rivalry, but you can't force feed a rivalry. You want to create a rivalry? Well, you know what? Have some continuity of these teams playing and the potential of, okay, we remember what happened in the first round last year. We're going to remember that. We're going to take a rain check, and my goodness gracious, it doesn't make sense to me. David said, I got my TVs all set up. One with the antenna that gets the CBC Channel 9. I love it. It's the best. Are you kidding me? It's the best.
Yeah, Tammy saying the last chance for Boston. I'm not betting on that. I'm not banking on that one. I think their last chance was last year with that 28-1 ticket that I lost. But that's another story. But
can I tell you about our friends at Batch Brewing?
Yes.
Because we are going to be out at Batch Brewing. We'd love for you to join us. Draft night. How about this? You can go to Batch draft night or any night. As a matter of fact, located in Corktown, we are going to be out there doing a draft show, literally 6:45, taking you right up to the draft. Craft beer, scratch kitchen, fantastic menu, smoked meat. What more can you ask for? They are the official craft beer sponsor of Off the Air. We'd love for you to come hang out with us. Make sure you check out what's going on at www.batchbrewingcompany.com. But yes, we're excited to be out there again next Thursday for the draft. We're going to take you right up to the draft. Draft starts at 8 o'clock. We'll be out there 6:45 to 8. Some special guests. We'd love to see you out there as well. Tim said rivals or regular matchups in the playoffs. Boy, oh boy.
But you said you can't force feed it. And when you're playing a sport like hockey, you don't have to force feed it. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Let the boys play each other. You are going to hate them. You are going to not like them. Something's going to happen. It carries into the next game. Then you get in the playoffs when it means something and they're playing hard, and it goes from there.
Look how smart Blake is. Blake is such a smart human being. Blake, can you show everybody what Sergio just sent me? Now I'm going to take a picture of this so I can show Sergio that we're pimping his product too. So I'm going to send that right back to Sergio, and there you go. Great stuff. We appreciate it. All right, I'm going to shut up for a second.
Okay.
Because Blake and I talked for about an hour plus last night. Kind of the Red Wing postmortem, so to speak. Shep and I talked about it today. This is a question I asked everybody last night, pal, while you were sleeping.
I did. And for Blake, I was there as you started talking, and your lovely voice put me to sleep. So what did you ask?
His anger puts you to sleep. Angriest human being I've ever met. How would you categorize the 23-24 Detroit Red Wings season? I'm not asking for a word or anything, but how would you categorize the season?
Well, I mean, when you take a step back and you look at it and you're out of the emotion of what happened last night, it's a step forward. There's still a lot of steps that have to be taken, but it's a step forward. This was a learning experience. I know you've heard me say it. People that I've talked to, if you listen, you've heard me say it. You have to lose to win. You have to learn. You learn a lot of things within that. They're going to learn the little things, and this young team is going to learn how to be. Sergio mentioned it. How to be a professional.
Yeah.
How to take every game serious. When you have a 5-0 lead against a team like San Jose, you can't lose that game.
No question.
If you are a playoff team, you can't have the march that you had. You can't have that. Those are things they have to learn. So in the moment, you're mad, you're angry. I'm sure you're throwing things at your TV. But when you take a step back, if I could have taken you back to the first game of the season and said, I'm going to have a situation to where Philly's got to beat Washington, and all you have to do is beat Montreal, and you're in the playoffs, will you take it? And I think every Wings fan would have taken it.
Blake was with me the first night of the season, and quite frankly, they finished exactly where I thought they would finish. I mean, exactly where I thought they would, just on the outside looking in. I want to throw something at you, Blake. Blake, you know I was laughing. He goes, I'm the nice one. You hate Dylan Larkin, not me. I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired. Even Shep today was saying the same thing. It's Dylan Larkin. I like Dylan Larkin. He is a good hockey player. But I want Dylan Larkin on my team. People want me to call Dylan Larkin something that he isn't.
You don't like him unless he's a 1C, and you admit it. That's the problem.
I honestly, I have a problem. I think this town, I'm sure it happens in other towns. This town likes to call people things that they aren't. Does that make sense?
It makes sense because me and you have had this conversation 52 million times.
Yeah.
We know that, and we know exactly what we're talking
about. Blake, Sean hating Larkin is the best bit we've had since the show started. See, this is how jokes start. And unfortunately, the jokes lead to people actually believing it. Yep. That's the funniest thing. So years ago, I said on the air, you might remember this, my old producer, Marty, we were having a discussion about Zetterberg and Datsuk. Mm-hmm. And she was like, why do you hate Datsuk so much? And I go, Marty, I never said Pavel Datsuk's not good. So you know what she did? She edited it, and she made that a drop. Pavel Datsuk's not good.
Well, I believe, knowing the genius of Blake, he is now going to be making one that says Dylan Larkin is no good.
You should. Here, I'll even. Dylan Larkin's no good. There. Don't ever say I didn't do anything for you. But literally, she made that a drop. And like years later, people were going, dude, I like really respect your, like, I can't believe you ever said Dylan or Pavel Datsuk's no good.
But we were having the conversation just the other day about when it was time to let him go, right? Did we not
Yeah,
have
I
that
guess
conversation?
1000%. I did at the
I
end.
mean, yeah, we had me and you
You
have
all
had that
have to agree
conversation.
with me now. You all wanted to crucify me back then, but knowing what you know now, they should have never re-signed Pavel Datsyuk. I'm sorry, they shouldn't. Tim said, if I went on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being hopeless failure, 2 belong great success, I would
Sucks.
give it a 6. Can't ignore the 11-point improvement, but lost
Yeah.
2 points with the choke job in the last 4 weeks. Yeah, I get
It
it.
is.
That's fair. That's
But
fair.
young teams choke. That's what they
Mhm.
do. And chokes is a tough word. If that's what you want to say, that's what it is. It's learning. You have to grow. You can't take a step back.
Right.
I mean, you can't. And we had a conversation before we came on the air that I'm waiting for one very big tell to what's going to happen and what's been going on. And we can get there now, we can get there later or whatever it is, because as I said in that tweet the other day, we're making statements on a lot of things we think we know, but we don't know. So
I'm on the
I
outside
think
looking
I know.
in.
Yep,
I openly admit it.
100%.
I'm not going to. Tammy, you brought up the series I'm looking forward to. I texted this idiot last night and said the exact same thing. Tampa, Florida. Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Mhm.
Cannot wait. I'm really looking forward to that one. All right. The only disconcerting thing to me, he and I were at the game Monday night, and then last night we were texting each other during the game. I know I brought this up, but I need to bring it up to you just to get your take. The only disconcerting thing to me the last couple days, okay, is I had a very tough time differentiating between the team that was playing out the string, waiting to see if they picked 5th overall or 6th overall. Well, of course, depending on the lottery balls, and the team fighting for their existence. That was a little disconcerting to me. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. So do things come a little bit more clear to you with the news that came out of Montreal today and the news we're waiting for in Detroit to why that is?
100%.
Okay. We have a coach that just got extended and had a press conference, and they were ecstatic about signing him. And we're waiting to hear where we're going with our leadership. No news is good news for these people, right? So we're thinking we're moving on, but you are absolutely correct. You had a team playing out the string. They're not tanking, but their draft stock is sitting right there. But we had this conversation that I said, my worry with playing Montreal is that they're young, they are on fire, they're playing for something, they're playing for themselves. I mean, that is the sign of what they have in that locker room.
Yeah, Tim said, what news? The news out of Montreal is they're extending Marty St. Louis for another 2 years.
Yes.
So he's going to be there for at least 3 years more. He was going into his last contract or last year of his contract, and they exercised the option to extend him 2 more years beyond that. Some more thoughts on the Red Wings in just a second, but let me tell you about our friends at Wealth Advantage Group. Really appreciate everything that they've done for us and being a part of this. And I said this earlier today, I'm going to repeat it. If you are watching this show and you are enjoying this show, thank you very much. I can't tell you how much fun we have doing it, but a reason why we can do this show is because of partners like our friends at Wealth Advantage Group. So if you could do me a favor, and in the process, you would do yourself a favor, give my pals at the Wealth Advantage Group a call. And if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, those are the guys that you need to call. The handsome brothers right there, Jeff and Mike Husak, located in historic downtown Northville. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, you're already in retirement, doesn't matter. They can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world, it is a complex one. If you're ready to take your finances more seriously, do me a favor, and in turn, do yourself a favor and check in with a couple of experts. Right there, the fellas at Wealth Advantage Group, 248-773-8574, or you can view their website at www.thewealthadv.com. Can't thank them enough for being a part of this, being our partners, being our friends. And you know how you can thank us? Contact them, give them a call. Please, please do that. Blake said, call Wealth Advantage. Sean is going to continue to hate Dylan Larkin. It's so stupid. I like Dylan Larkin. Stop it. I don't know how it starts. It's so stupid.
I understand that, but what's your problem with Dan Campbell?
Do I also have a problem with Dan Campbell?
According to Blake in the
Do
chat.
I really, Blake? I have a problem with Dan Campbell? Oh, Sean also hates Dan Campbell. I guess I do. I didn't know that. Now, if you gave me the business on Jared Goff, I have to own that. I was 100% anti-Jared Goff. Didn't think he would be the quarterback here when the Lions got good. I'll keep owning that. No problem at all. So when you look at this Red Wing team right now,
yes,
okay, there are things that have to happen with this team. Watching Lucas Raymond grow up before our eyes in the last week is awesome. Okay? I mean, awesome. Nobody – I look at this defense core. You and I have talked so much about the goaltenders, but let's talk a little bit about this defense core. Legitimately, in my opinion, this is a defense core that it would be in their best interest to turn over half of the defense core.
Yes. And the conversation that we've been having is that it was made a little bit easier with Edvinson's transition in. Now, again, let's not go where we accuse people of going and saying that this guy's a number one. He's going to be an all-star. He's the next. He's Yzerman's headman. He is a very nice player. He fit in very well. I think he made a lot of plays. And this is also playing with one of those defensemen that I believe has to go. But unfortunately, this is going to be it's not only getting guys in, Sean.
Yeah.
It is going to be managing these contracts that we have back there. Because we have a few contracts. I'm trying to pull up my cap friendly here.
20. It's about 27 million.
Yeah, on the D side of it, that's just not okay. It's just not good. But again, I like we've got Mo, you've got Everton. I think those guys are going to be fine. They're going to have to bring something in, but now you have to manage these cap, and you have to manage what are you going to bring in? You know what my big wish, and it was my play GM wish, was a young Noah Hannafin, right? But that would have cost us. It's going to cost you a roster player. You're going to have to be trading a roster player. You're going to lose assets. And then we don't have the money to do that on our backside.
As Tammy said, you have to take care of Mo and Raymond. So it was interesting to me hearing so many people talk about, because the cap is going to go up. It sounds like it's going to go up about $4 million. And the Red Wings are going to have $27 million to play with. And it was amazing to me how many people were immediately doing what you were talking about and be the GM, and they forgot exactly what Tammy brought up. A lot of that $27 million you have to invest in making those guys stay. I mean, those are linchpins. And I brought this up, to the people out there, Mike, that were, are giving Steve Yzerman the business. And I don't think it's fair. I don't. Sorry. I don't. Can you imagine, forget about talking about the two starting points that he had in Tampa. Can you imagine if he came here 5 years ago and he already had a young Mo Sider and a young Lucas Raymond? Could you imagine where this franchise might be right now?
Well, how much easier does that make it to draft and bring guys in?
1,000%.
And then for those guys to come into a team like that. Now, the thing is that we're impatient, and everything Steve Yzerman touches the gold. So he should have been winning cups 3 years ago, as a Wings fan would think. Now he is okay. The cap, again, is going to bite you. We got to watch what we have here. And we've had this conversation about these two contracts that are obviously going to happen coming up here in Mo and Raymond. Are they both going to be long-term, or is he going to bridge one?
Yep.
And who's going to get the bridge? Who's going to get the long-term? Who? It's going to be very interesting here. But these are good problems to have, I guess, right? I mean, it's better than like, oh my God, we got to re-sign this guy, and it's going to be another bad contract. We got some assets here that we're really going to like. How he's going to manage the rest of this, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Listen. I understand that expectations change during the season, and this is a team that should have made the playoff. I think at the end of the day, they finished around the spot that a lot of people, yours truly included, thought that they would finish. I would be more disappointed if there weren't a lot of positive things to look forward to. And there are a ton of positive things to look forward to with this franchise right now. And I'm sorry, I think it's low-hanging fruit if you sit there and talk about getting rid of Steve Yzerman. I just think you're trying too hard. I just do. And I heard a lot of that today. It's that sports talk radio stuff that
what do they call that? A hot take?
Yeah. I didn't like it when I was doing it, and I certainly can't stand it now. I can't stand it at all. So did Matthews get 70 yet?
Matthews don't have 70. They're in between the second and the third period. Cooch get it. Cooch got his 100th. He also scored 2 more points for what is going to be your MVP. Right?
I think so.
I hope so. He's still not the betting favorite, but that's all right by me. He's my betting favorite. But the concerning thing with Matthews is he's up there in minutes, but as I said, I was very excited. He had 7 shots in the first period, none in the second.
Ooh.
But this is playing right into my hand, Blake, if you're listening there, because what did I say the big bet was?
Here we go.
Austin Matthews to score the last goal of the game. Now, my brain, when I did that, was empty netter, right? That's going to be 70. He's going to get 70 on the empty net. Now it's a blowout. I'm telling you, that 5-2 goal, boom, last goal of the game. He's getting 70 tonight. He's going to get it.
I think so too. Hey, let me tell you about our friends at Legacy, and I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said our friends at Wealth Advantage. We appreciate you watching. Hopefully you're enjoying this. We are having a blast. If you could do me a favor, and in the process, do yourself a favor. Just call these guys and get yourself a quote, because thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home, their auto insurance, whatever the case may be. They are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents. They provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal, business, large, and small. The difference with Legacy Partners, they go in and fix mistakes other agents have made. They ask the right questions to get you the right coverage put in place. What are you waiting for? Just call. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Get yourself a quote. Chances are you haven't checked your policies in the last year and you're paying too much. You could be underinsured. Give Legacy Partners the chance to help with your home, your car, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Give them a call today. Please say that we sent you. I promise you, Joe and Alex and Dave will take great care of you. We are so happy to be friends with these guys, partners with these guys. Help the people that are helping us. 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or go to legacypartnersins.com. All right, good stuff. No, appreciate that. Gordy said Al Ifredi had an opinion on open netters. Fantastic. Yes. Blake, what am I call Legacy, or Sean is going to start hating? Who am I hating now, Blake? Can you just, you've been mean all day, so you may as well start.
You'll probably start hating me.
Well, you have been very mean. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that.
That's just not true.
What are you looking at now?
I am looking
Are you
at
doing
here.
betting things
No.
again? No.
I'm not.
Hi, Sean. Adults are here now.
I sent this to both of you guys so you can tell me who your MVP is.
All right.
It's Statfleets. You know I can't speak.
Mm-hmm.
But it has 8 categories: points per game, total primary points, percentage of teams' goals with a point, total non-empty net points, 5-on-5 points, primary shot attempts, blah 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 blah. Kucherov is leader of 5 of the 8.
You're throwing a lot of numbers at me, Mike.
I know. I'm telling
My
you.
MVP is Dylan Larkin because Sean hates him.
You are just such a piece.
And then he disappeared.
Jesse, my buddy Jesse, Hubie.
Yeah.
Jesse just emailed me and asked this. Brett asked the same question. What is more difficult, 70 goals or 100 assists? What do you think?
Wow, that is a great question because you're talking probably similar number. I think more people have scored 70 goals up to this year. Only 3 people had had put in 100 assists, and that was Orr, Lemieux, and Gretzky. Gretzky did it 572 times. This year we've got Cooch and McDavid jumped into that.
And I understand what people are going to say. Well, you can get 2 apples on a goal, et cetera, et cetera. I'm still going to say goals. Sorry. I just think, especially in this league today.
Yeah.
There was a time, hey, look, Solani scored 76, and look, McGillney scored 76, and you scored 70 goals, and he scored 70 goals. Yes. In today's league, I'm sorry, to score 70 goals. To me, it's unbelievable.
It is harder, but I would be hard to say that the goals gets the MVP over the assists when you look at the totality of everything. When you look at the fact that Nikita Kucherov has been a part of, I think, 51% of this team's goals, whether scoring it or assisting on it, that is the highest, I believe, since I read it was I think Yager did it like in 93 or 94 or something like that. That is ridiculous. Not 51% of your team's goals to be in on.
What year was it? I think it was 90. What was it? Wasn't it like 12 different players had over 50 goals? It was insane. Like there was one year where was it? It may have been even higher than that. But I know there was one year 12 or 14 different guys had over 50 goals. And then, of course, 92, 93, I mean, you had multiple guys with 70 plus, it's insane. We haven't seen that stuff in a long time.
No.
And it's have you changed at the beginning of the year?
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the year, I said Colorado over Carolina
mm-hmm.
in the final. Okay. With the playoffs starting, I'm going to give you an opportunity to, you get a rebate. You can change your mind on what you thought.
No. Now,
what did you
people get confused sometimes with what I've got because I have 2 bets. Again, not to go betting, but I have 2 bets. One of them is Florida, which was my team that was going to come out of the East. That is my team from the beginning of the year. Then the Colorado Avalanche was the team I had coming out of the West. I do have a bet on the Canucks, but that was just because of the number 43-1 that I got at them early in the year. So since we've been talking, it's been Florida and Colorado. And this is the thing. My bets, if you look at my bets that I'm going to be putting in, you would think that I wasn't going to stick with it because I'm not betting on either of those 2, but that is where I'm sticking.
By the way, remember I said 12 or 14? It was 14 in 92, 93.
Yep.
Over 50 goals. Jeez, Pete. 90 was like that as well. Hold on. Now, can you look that up? How many guys did it in 1990? Because I remember Gary Lehman scored over 50 goals that year. Todd said expansion goalies. Not in 90, but 92, 93. I mean, San Jose was still just awful. That was their second year in the league. And the pads were starting to get a little bigger back then too.
JSG Garrett.
Yeah, they were starting to get a little bigger that particular year. But yeah, it is amazing. I mean, when you look at some of those numbers and here it is. Wait a second. Somebody brought this up. I gotta look the. Can you name every goal scorer in the NHL in the 89-90 season? Gosh damn it. Somebody find that out for me. In 89-90, how many different goal scorers? Because I remember that year, and then like I said, 92-93 was insane. It was just now granted as well. Remember they kicked up the schedule. It was 83-80. They went to 84 games. They went to 84
games. What did
games.
Blake just send us?
I know that's what.
Of course, my phone doesn't work.
In 89-90, how many guys did it? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 guys. Gary Lehman.
Look at that one right there at the bottom.
I told you,
what?
Gary Lehman. I told you. Richer had 51, Lehman, Robitaille, LaFontaine, Bellows, Neely, Yzerman, Hall. Isn't that crazy? Just insane. Brett said, does it scare you on your bet with Florida playing Tampa in the first round? I'd be terrified, Mike.
I would be terrified. I looked at that. I'm going with that one is it's going to go over 5.5 games. I mean, odds aren't the greatest, but I'm about winning bets and money. It doesn't matter what the odds are here with me. But I will still like Florida to move forward just because Tampa's getting a little bit long in the tooth. And once these playoff starts, Florida plays that prototypical playoff hockey game, and I think they're going to be fine. It's good. I mean, and I think Bob's obviously going to have to outplay Vassy.
That's why if I had a redo, I'd pick Florida, even though they've kind of stumbled down the stretch. If I had a redo, I'd take Florida over Carolina. But I know I told you this weeks ago. You can vouch for this. I texted you and I said there's something wrong with Colorado. I still feel that way.
And
there's something wrong with Colorado. I don't know what it is. Goaltending. But I mean, even beyond the goaltending, there's something. I've watched them play multiple times. There's something amiss.
By last check, I believe he was under 900 save percentage. I think it was like a point. You just can't do that. You can't score enough goals for that.
I think the team kind of feels that way too, if that makes sense.
And what a terrible matchup for them.
Oh,
terrible matchup for them with the Jets. And
Misery.
Again, and I made this statement, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? I asked the question to you. Can all 4 underdogs in the West win their series?
Yes.
And then I said, I am betting all 4. And right now, that is going to be Vegas over Dallas, which you're going to hate because I know you like how Dallas is playing right now. The Jets over the Avalanche, the Predators over the Canucks. I love my 43-1 ticket, but the Canucks are the Canucks. That's just if you did not have them there at the beginning of the season. And then the Kings over the Oilers, because that was a team I said, I don't want to play the Kings.
I can vouch for that. He really did.
Yeah.
Look at us. We're such losers. Can you believe we talked? Here's the worst part. Can I tell you, you guys are all watching and we appreciate, we have 324 watching right now. Thank you. Appreciate it. We could sit here for the next 3 hours. Do you understand that? Blake's yelling at me. You got to do this. You got to do that. I could begin so many sentences with Blake's yelling. All right. But this is another one of those, he's going, you got to do this, Reed. Don't tell me we couldn't sit here and do this, right? Maybe we'll just do. I'll leave.
We'll do it. All caps. So he's yelling at us.
Maybe we'll do it. No, listen. Maybe we'll do it when we have these guys over Monday night for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean, you know me, and we're going to be here. We're going to be talking anyways. That be it Saturday, be it Monday, whenever. I mean, I know I'm going to be here Monday because we are going to be.
We have a corned beef and brisket.
That corned beef is so good. Thank you, Wiggly.
And here's the best part about it. I'm having a few of the boys over. Todd, Blake, thank for all the hard work. Because Blake hates my food, that means more food for us.
Yes. And if we can time it out, I believe I'm going to do some shotgun shells.
Blake said you're going to live stream while watching the games next week. You dope. Okay, that sounds good.
Exactly, 100%.
All right, Tammy, I could talk hockey all night. Well, come talk hockey with us. I'm just going to keep our phones in front of us, and we're just watching hockey and eating some barbecue. That's the way it goes. Hey, listen, let me tell you again about one of our partners. We can't do this without great people like this fine human being. Lindsay Broadwell. And when it comes time to get yourself a house, you're buying, you're selling both, you need to contact the right agent. There's your agent, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business. When it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when you're finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, it doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. And seriously, I can't say this enough. I'm so appreciative of people like Lindsay and our friends with the Detroit Sports Commission and the Motor City Rockers who are going to be in action this weekend. Go out and support them. I'm going to try to talk the boys into coming out on Sunday, if necessary, mind you, if necessary. Yes. And of course, Legacy and Wealth Advantage, we can't do this without them. So if you could do me a personal favor, look into everything that those guys are offering. Tell them that we sent you. We would appreciate it. Give you a tip of the cap for sure.
As we were talking the other day, what does it hurt to make a phone call? Ask some questions, see what they're doing, and don't hate dogs.
Boy,
Sean.
now you're really.
I mean,
you're digging deep.
You
now.
can't hate Nelly.
I can't hate dogs.
You can't hate Nelly.
I
I showed you pictures of Nelly the other day.
Oh, that was really cute,
Yes,
actually.
yeah.
That was really cute. Great atmosphere, by the way, before we get out of here. Little Caesars Arena was off the hook on Monday night. That atmosphere was unbelievable. That was one of the best viewings I've had in a long time, Mike.
Oh yeah, I got to walk out of the Players Club that we were in, and what Stanley, I'll never forget his name. Stanley let me stand there. I was literally probably 1 foot from Martin St. Louis, right there on the bench, and Hudson and the boys. And watch it. And it was great to see. I mean, yes, there was a ton of Habs gear there, but it was a lot of Red Wing stuff. The fans were going crazy. It was electric, and it was just great. It was great to see that it's finally there. Because if you remember when that stadium first opened, they complained about all the empty seats, and they had to change the color of the seats and all that. It was unbelievable. It was great. We have to thank them for taking us to.
Jesse said shells are so underrated on the Smoker. Our mutual friend Freel and I look for excuses to make them. When are you coming over? Come on.
And mine
Come
will,
on,
of course,
Jesse.
and of course, mine will be gluten-free.
Yes, absolutely. Let me throw this out there though before we get out of there. As I was saying, thanks to Sergio Momesso, next Saturday is the day. Make sure you get out to Big Boy Arena. It's going to be awesome. The first game was great. This one's going to be even better. Rangers, Red Wings, GH Pastor Foundation for Kids. We raised over $30,000 for various charities last year. 2:00. The Stanley Cup's going to be there. Vladdy's going to be there. Karen Newman is set to return. There is a VIP after party at Cicerelli's as well. And I don't know why, but they asked me to kind of be the MC for that and talk to a lot of the players and interview the players on site. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Calling the game and have an opportunity to talk to some of these guys in person. So we'd love to see you at the game again for a great cause. And then you can come out and we're going to have some, intimate conversations with a lot of these guys at Cicerelli. So hopefully we'll see you out there. All right. Any final words?
The only final word I have is there's 12 minutes left to go in this game. We know that Matthews is going to score, and this is playing right into my bet. The later this goal, the better it is to be the last goal of the game.
Yeah, he's going to score. That's just the way it is. All right, Blake, thank you. Todd, thank you. Thank you, Sergio Momesso. Thank you, all of you guys, for coming out and watching this and being a part of it. Always a pleasure with you, Mike. Yep. Tammy, thanks for always being one of the biggest hockey. Everybody involved, I'm Sean Belegian saying until next week, bye.
What the Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to What the Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.